Welcome back to Tap Tempo with me, Matt Lang. After a nice little 2-week break, we're back on the show, back into full swing. This past weekend, I went to the Pensado Awards, so thank you, Dave, Herb, and Changor for inviting me, and being able to see Greg Wells, who's a gigantic producer, Katy Perry, Adele, I mean, the list goes on and on. Watching him do a drum solo to kind of celebrate him getting this, I think it was called the Giant Award for massive accomplishment. That was it was pretty awesome. Like really, really talented musician. So it was awesome to see. Also, I have a new EP coming out next week, exactly a week from today. So that will be December 13th. It is the next EP in the Calliope series, and it is called Bleed Together. And I'll talk more about it next week, but keep your eyes peeled. I will be posting little previews of all of that little stuff over the next couple of days. Also this weekend, I'm playing 2 shows in Northern California, San Francisco on Friday night at a secret after party, but if you Google it, you should be able to find info on that, or go to my Facebook page, that has it also. And then Saturday, I'm in Sacramento at Midtown Barfly. Now let's talk about the show. I have Ben Hinz from Dwarfcraft here, and Dwarfcraft make amazing guitar pedals. I have a few of them myself. And actually, speaking of Pensado, when I was on the show last year, I spoke about a pedal I lovingly refer to as Death Kitties. And Death Kitties is indeed a product of Dwarfcraft. So Ben was in town, and he came over, and we had a really awesome talk about all sorts of pedal-related things, but also guitars, music in general. It was just an awesome time to hang out with him. So here's Ben from Dwarfcraft. So you'll be here for now?
Yeah.
Right. Sweet.
Maybe kids, too.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, man, the whole kit and caboodle.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Have they ever been here for that?
No.
Yeah.
They have... The furthest we've ever taken them is Chicago.
Oh, that's not far.
I don't know. With 3 kids in the car, it is.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a 6-hour trip, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. Are they all doing Are We There Yet?
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
Or how much longer, or how long have we been driving?
Oh, no.
And it's just like, you have almost unlimited entertainment
right
in your backpack.
Sure.
Like, just enjoy this. Like, it's the one day of your life that nobody's going to give you shit about watching cartoons in the car.
Do they have iPads or...
The 2 older ones have iPhones, and the 2 younger ones have Kindles.
Okay.
So
yeah. That
And
means they have to read.
Right, yeah. Well,
That's good.
They're the fancy Kindles that have games and stuff.
Oh, take those away. Book Kindle only.
Yeah. It's an LCD screen, kid.
I mean, have you found issues with that? I mean, because you're raising kids in this time now where everything is so iPhone, iPad.
Well, so my youngest, every time we come home, she says, "Can I watch something?"
Yeah.
Every time there's a lull in activity, "Can I watch something?"
Sure.
So, but I mean, that's kind of the same as TV. I don't think it would matter how many channels we did or didn't have.
Right.
And the older 2... Like they're definitely into their phones.
Yeah.
But I feel like we kind of held them back from those for long enough.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, honestly, I feel like we kind of waited until we felt like they were like mostly grown up enough to like take care of themselves on the internet.
Sure.
And, so like we don't check their phones anymore.
Yeah.
Like, which I don't, I feel like it, unless we found like specific bomb plans, like what difference would it make?
Sure. Yeah. Like they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah. And like we've always had dinner together.
Cool.
Every night, unless you're like out of town or you have a school thing or something.
Sure.
And so, like, we talk real shit, like 3 out of 5 nights.
That's awesome.
So they're like my oldest Juniper is like a proud social justice warrior, as are her parents, and I think Miles is too. Like, it's all still very personal for him.
Yeah.
But Juniper, who's 14, is like, she's thinking much further out already. So I feel pretty all right about them on the internet.
What's the age gap?
14, 12, and 9.
Okay. They're all relatively close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it easy.
So there's a few specific things that everybody likes. For a while, it was Black Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And, like some shows and things like that. So the middle and the older have a lot of stuff that they both like, and the middle and the younger, I think, have a lot more.
Right.
But
yeah, I could see that, because I mean, it's still then 6 years or so, yeah, or
right.
5 years between.
Yeah, and that like 11 to 13 is a gap of so much more than 2 years,
right?
You know,
I don't have kids.
Well,
so.
I mean, just think of your development. Like, you were a different person when you were 11 than you were when you were 13.
I think I pretty much repressed all of
okay, all right. Well. All right, I'll try not to reference that.
No. I honestly I don't remember much of it. That's the reality.
Mine's fading away too, for sure.
Like, I remember 13 and on, I remember really distinctly. And I remember bits of 11. It was like 11 is when we were talking earlier, like that's when I got into hip hop. That was, because I was transitioning to a new school and everyone listened to rap back then. This was like Jay-Z's second album was coming out around then. It was like the first DMX record.
Yeah.
And I was really into Nas.
Okay.
And but it was all East Coast hip hop, you know, that's because we didn't, aside from like Tupac and Dr. Dre, we didn't really know West Coast.
Right.
Because, you know, we're all in New York. So what you hear on the radio, what they would play on Hot 97, which was the big hip hop station in New York, it was all East Coast hip hop. So that was kind of my, I guess, my introduction into all of that. And I only really had a year of that before then, bizarrely, nu metal happened.
Right. Yep.
And nu metal, in a way, was actually my transition back to
rock.
Back to rock, yeah, because I grew up like playing the Black Album. Like the Black Album, like me and my best friend at the time, we would always play Busta Rhymes' Woo-Ha and Metallica's Black Album and Megadeth's Euthanasia. And we do it as loud as possible to torture the babysitter.
Of course, yeah.
You know? And, so that was the transition to like, it took, in a very funny way, Limp Bizkit. That first $3 Bill Y'all album, that was like the transition of like going back into that world.
Right. And for anyone listening, like, I Will Fight You, like, there's some really good songs on that album.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean,
my favorite was always like that 20-minute closer jam.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, when you're 16 and you don't understand anything that's happening and all you have is fucking bad feelings and horniness.
Sure.
That music makes perfect sense.
This is why Korn exists.
Right, yeah.
You know? It spoke to a generation of very sexually frustrated teenagers.
Yeah.
And they still have a career for it. Mm-hmm. But that's crazy, man. I want to talk metal with you.
All right.
Because
I got to warn you, I'm spotty, but passionate.
I don't know. I think that's all relative. But I mean, because there are a lot of metal bands that do use your stuff too. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember like you have like even a signature Boris fuzz.
Yeah.
It's an Eau Claire with Boris.
Yeah, the Eau Claire Thunder with the
Boris
a version of the Pink album cover.
Yeah.
As the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, amazingly that happened early in the history of Dwarfcraft.
Yeah.
I was talking to our Japanese dealer and I had pretty recently gotten into Boris and I was just like, I know this might sound like a stupid question, but do you know or know anyone who does know Boris? And he was just like, of course, Boris, our very good friend of mine.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, oh, great. Can you give them X, Y, and Z? Mm-hmm. I'll send it to you. And apparently, like the day he got it, Takeshi adopted the Eau Claire Thunder.
That's amazing.
And they, like, things get lost in translation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But what he says to me every time I see him is, Eau Claire Thunder, every time, all the time.
Well, it's my favorite fuzz I've ever used. I fucking love that thing.
Thank you very much.
Because I always liked Big Muff style fuzzes in general. Mm-hmm. And your take on it in particular, it was fatter, and even just having that mid scoop in it. It just sounds great.
Well, luckily that was I was doing so much by ear at that time.
Yeah.
That I built a green Russian muff according to some schematic. I don't know how accurate it was. And it sounded horrible. And so then just based on my limited experience up to that point, I just started fucking with it until I loved it.
Yeah.
And there it was. And I had already experienced plenty of times the quote unquote muff dive, where you turn on your big muff and technically your volume is way higher, but your mids down. Are gone, so you're not in the mix anymore.
Right. That's funny.
And I was in my trademark ham-fisted style, I was like, well then, fuck the tone stack.
Right.
I'm gonna put a button in to skip that.
Right. That's hysterical.
And the other, the trim control on the front, that's a really low value, just volume pot, basically.
Yeah.
So because I was engineering it with a guitar with super hot, super bassy P90 pickups.
Yeah.
So it would fart out on me. So I put that pot in there so I could turn it and make it sound great again.
Right. It makes sense.
I don't know how much that gets used outside of my pedal board with that specific guitar, but
I use it a lot, actually. Not, I don't use the trim on guitars as much, but on synths I do a ton.
Sure, because those are loud as shit.
They're loud as shit, especially coming out of the modular, which is hot as hell already.
Yeah,
but the way the distortion interacts with the signal, depending on the I guess the volume of the level. That changes dramatically with the trim pot. Yeah.
So, and actually, when you plug into that, even if you have the trim, quote unquote, wide open, the vast majority of your signal is getting dumped to ground already.
Really?
I've never done the math, but it's a 5K pot between signal and ground.
Okay.
Which is probably technically not electronically sound, but, Boris begs to differ.
I kind of like that because you're not really a mathy guy.
No,
you're like you said, ham-fisted, just throw it against the wall.
Yeah, I was trying to one time when I was talking to my wife about making music, actually.
Yeah,
and I was just I feel like I'm a hammer. And I need nails and I need wood and stuff, but I can't not be a hammer.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think your pedals kind of speak to that, though. I think that's why I like them so much personally, is because, a lot of times because the first was what? Great Destroyer?
Yeah, that was the first effects pedal.
And it's certainly the ones I have, they're all sheer sonic obliteration.
Sure.
It's just different flavors of sonic obliteration, which I love. So, I don't see you making some crazy high-tech... you're not going to make a Chase Bliss pedal with all, the dip switches on the back or anything like that.
Well, that's not something I'm opposed to.
Yeah.
Because I really love having... a lot of deep control.
Right.
Anybody who has more than 2 modules, you have to be into that level of minute control.
Sure.
But things being as they are, quote unquote, our people aren't going to look for that from us. Mm-mm. They're going to see, a pedal that's, the same size as every other pedal, and it's got too many knobs and switches, and it's $400, and they're going to say, I'll get this Strymon.
Right.
Or whatever, And that's fine.
Sure.
I'm not nearly as emotionally invested in our products as I was at the beginning, for sure.
Sure.
I understand that it's their products, and we're running a business, and it just so happens that sometimes I can get really, really well rewarded, sonically and emotionally.
Yeah, of course.
and usually pay the mortgage.
Right. That's the dream.
Right.
If you didn't have to think about your customer base, what would you build?
A whole synth.
A whole synth
system.
Really?
Yeah. It would be a modular system.
Yeah.
With one front panel, probably 94 or 104 HP.
Okay. Yeah.
If somebody handed us the check, we could have a system out in 6 months maximum.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah. Because it's all our happiness pedal is a synthesizer filter. It runs on a bipolar 12-volt power supply.
Right.
There's a very expensive little circuit board in there that converts your standard guitar power supply to a Eurorack power supply.
Right. Okay.
And same goes for LFOs. We have better digital LFOs programmed.
Sure.
And audio oscillators. Actually, it's the same program.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just there's a lot of roadblocks between. There's a lot of roadblocks with one solution, which is a huge amount of money.
Right. Well, yeah. Because it's not cheap to make the stuff either.
No,
and you're small.
Yeah. And now I feel like we're small on purpose and in a good way.
I think that's better every time.
Yeah. There was definitely a time, about the time we put out the happiness pedal.
Yeah.
Where we were really trying to grow the business in leaps and bounds in an electro-harmonics or earthquaker kind of humongous kind of way.
Yeah.
And that's just not us. We don't do well in those meetings with those people. We don't have the capital to recoup after the kind of loans that you have to take out to make those jumps.
Right.
And as it turns out, when we scaled back a bit and my wife was like, let's just do what we're fucking good at already and love it.
Listen to her. She's smart.
Yeah. Things went exponentially better.
That's always the way. Mm-hmm. I find. I don't know. I've done it myself, certainly in the last year.
Yeah.
Or just, there's a lot of fuck it involved.
Yeah. Well, is your album release plans public knowledge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gearing up for a pretty big release on your own terms.
I don't know if it's going to be big.
You're going to pay a big amount of money.
Yeah.
You're going to bet on yourself big time.
That's what I always do, though.
Right.
In general, it's funny, man. I have zero faith in the stock market or anything like that. And I probably should have more than I do because obviously it's done very well for certain people. Mm-hmm. But even when I was a kid, we would have these... It wasn't contests, but it was simulations of Wall Street. And you would invest fake money, but all the stocks are actually based on the current stock market. I was at the bottom of the class every time. I just don't have them. I just don't have the brain for it.
Bad. What you're saying is you're a bad gambler.
Oh, I don't gamble. It's great.
Right. Yeah.
I just bet on myself because I'm in control of that.
Right.
So the way I look at it now is, okay, say I just spent a bunch of money on a piano. That piano is going to inspire me to do so many things that, I'll recoup the cost of the piano in 2 months, theoretically, if I'm just, using it in the way. And then I think, wow, after a year, how many, I mean, and I know how ignorant this is, and, and like look at Bitcoin. But this is just how my brain works, is that I know how many stocks in my mind did, say you put $2,000 into, became 10 grand a year later.
Right.
I don't know any,
no.
but I could say that about instruments I've bought.
For sure. Yeah.
I like that because that puts me in control of it. And it's more fun. It's a lot more fun.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. That's just how I do it now. But
that's. I mean, honestly, that's the only way that makes sense to me.
And it's all a write-off.
Well, right. Yeah. That's great. My fantasy is to one day have a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
That's so good that they can tell us at the end of the month, like, how much we need to spend on the business.
Yeah.
To avoid a giant tax bill at the end of the year.
Right.
Because then I'll just have to pick out a new guitar.
What guitar would you pick out?
Oh, well, I mean...
Unlimited money.
Unlimited money, like, honestly, I am... Okay, unlimited money, if it had to be a guitar,
yeah,
I would play as many Jazz Masters as I could and then grab one.
Those are reasonable, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of great options.
Yeah. It's not a 57 Les Paul.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't need vintage. I mean, I do have a checklist for sure.
Do you? Okay.
Like, it needs a tinted, glossy neck.
Okay.
Or it's a no-go.
Okay.
Like, I'm 35 years old. I've got a bunch of guitars I compromised on. I can make all the guitar sounds I need. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm ever going to buy something again, it's going to be exactly right.
Oh,
even with unlimited money.
That's how I'm at with guitars now, too.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of a weird spot.
It's an expensive spot.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, I'm very lucky in that in the last 7 years, I think I've only bought one guitar, like, from the store.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so the last one I got was a Starcaster reissue.
Yeah.
And I just basically loaded up my trunk with, like, a bunch of decent stuff that I didn't really want anymore.
Oh, perfect.
And I walked into the store and I was like, I'm ready to lose my ass on this. I'm leaving here with a new guitar.
Right.
With the tremolo on it.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess on paper I kind of bought that one, but it was really a trade.
It was trade.
Yeah.
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 Do you guys do trades with Dwarfcraft in general?
I mean, as often as I can afford it. Yeah. I mean, so now watch the emails pour in. But, like, usually if somebody we don't know, like, emails and, like, wants to do a trade, like, then I'm almost always like, yes. Like, I'll find the thing I like best from your line and we'll trade for it. Because, that's a cross-country handshake and pat on the back.
Yeah, totally.
In our industry, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter if I'm not going to use it. I mean, A, I will use it eventually.
Sure.
And B, it's just, like I said, it's a handshake and a pat on the back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's building the community.
Yeah. Or a sign of respect.
Right.
You know?
Totally. Acceptance. All of that. Yeah. What's your favorite trade you've done?
Oh, man.
Without pissing off the others.
So, man, this is going to be tough. But, I mean, so the biggest handshake and pat on the back that I ever got was from Richard at Pittsburgh Modular.
Okay.
Who traded, we sent him a bunch of pedals and, like, I basically built a system from their line.
Yeah.
Custom.
Cool.
And that's how I started in Modular.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's been a lot of other great trades in there.
Sure.
Over time, but
that's a cool
I mean, that
one,
was like, I really feel like Pittsburgh Modular kind of like, I don't know. They did not need to do that. Like, I really hope that Richard likes his pedals.
I'm sure. Well, he wouldn't. Like, did he propose it?
No,
you did.
No, yeah. That was all me.
No, I think they've got investors though. I mean, they're pretty big.
Really?
I think. Well, they were in Sweetwater before any other modular brand.
Well, I know they are the. I don't know what data they use to qualify this, but they're the biggest modular manufacturer in the States.
Are they really?
Yeah.
No, maybe. I guess their distribution must be massive. So that's my other cat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
chased her out.
Yeah. But, no, I guess that makes sense because, they were in Guitar Center too. Mm-hmm. So
they're doing it right. I mean, and the thing that attracted me to them was that, I mean, like, the prices all seemed reasonable.
Yeah.
And, like, where a lot of modular companies will put out an oscillator that's like everybody else's oscillator, and it costs 3 times what I feel it should.
Yeah.
Right, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just how I feel.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Except in the case of Schweiman.
Yeah?
Because those are 3 times the cost of every other oscillator.
And they're 3 times better?
They sound 3 times the cost.
Okay.
Yeah. Schweiman's the one thing that it's one of the... It hurts so much to pay this.
But you're good to do it.
Oh. Yeah. It's just... The filter's the best sounding filter I've ever heard. Well, actually, so I got into the Schweiman stuff because a decade ago, BT had a Schweiman S1, the semi-modular synth in his studio. Mm-hmm. So I used to play with that every now and then. And it was like no other synth I had heard at that point because it was so modern and clinical sounding. It was almost like there was a mid scoop going on with it.
Oh.
It was really, and it had just the fattest bass. And not like Moog fat bass. This was like clean sub. I will fuck your subwoofer.
Like evil kinda. Computer bass.
Yeah, but it was very analog. Uh-huh. It had this just beautiful surgical thing about it. And so what I ended up doing is I found out that eventually they broke out the S1 into modules. Mm-hmm. So they made a dual oscillator called the VCO2, and then their MMF1 filter that is the multi-mode filter of the S1, and it has 8 different filter shapes. I think everything from high pass, low pass, band pass, notch.
What else is there? Oh, notch.
But then you have different ones where it's like one side of it's a high pass, the other side's a peak.
Okay.
And they're just different variations. And then there's also a knob for spacing, so you can control the space between the peaks of the filter itself.
Okay.
And then it has CVN on everything from the spacing to everything. And then the new one, which is the one I have, which is the MMF1S, has a compressor and 2 different saturation stages built into it. And I'll show it to you after. But it's like no filter.
Well, right. Yeah.
I mean, so it's an $800 filter, and it sounds like it.
Okay.
And it has a VCA. I forgot about that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just a little bonus VCA.
And it's built like a tank.
Sure.
So it's one of those things like you buy that filter, and you... Mm-hmm. Aside from needing filters for like utilitarian purposes, you never need a filter
right
ever again like that. And you can switch it between
it's the last filter
like 4 and 2 pole. It's amazing, and you can use it as a mixer too. Actually, it has 2 audio inputs.
All right,
and I guess you could do that with CV too, because then you can kind of do the smoothing out CV thing by feeding CV in and then using a low pass filter.
Okay,
and notching it down.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I know that guy. He makes cool shit.
Yeah. Wow.
What?
That's like 3 steps past where my imagination would stop on a filter. And somebody would say, "What if we added a mixer?" And I'd be like, "Fuck you! It's a filter."
And that's why he's a genius at what he does. Mm-hmm.
I think you're right.
It's like. God, I picked this up from this TV show. It's like awful. Like I watch the worst TV ever.
All right.
When I'm just cooking dinner or whatever. So I've just been going through every season of White Collar, which was this USA. It was almost soap opera-y. It was about a con artist who has to work for the FBI as a criminal informant.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen commercials for that at my father-in-law's house.
Sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and but one of the characters in it is. Very awkward and like pseudo-intellectual, but he always has kind of like the very nerdy quips that are like,
Sure.
oh, you just quoted Joseph Campbell or something like that, but I like you, you know? It's one of those things. And he said this line in one of these episodes, and I can't believe I'm talking about fucking White Collar. But,
What's the title of episode?
beats me, man. Season 2, episode 10, I don't know.
No, I meant White Collar is the title of this episode of your podcast.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Dwarfcraft meets White Collar.
Yeah.
But no, he said, and obviously it's a quote from someone else. I just don't know who. But it says, he said, talent hits the target that nobody can hit, and genius hits the target that nobody can see.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I actually really like that.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's the Schwayman, you know,
Sure.
to me is like, you know, he creates modules and, you know, just hardware that it's kind of unfathomable.
Yeah.
And I love that.
That sounds perfect.
Kind of does, right?
Yeah.
So thanks, soap operas.
You really tied it all together, White Collar.
I know. What pedals do you like, or I should say, what are your favorite pedals not made by you?
Oh, so there's a few. I was thinking about this earlier today because I knew gear was going to come up, and as I was trying to process like my relationship with gear in general,
Yeah.
I don't have like, I really don't have any like main primaries. I have a ton of friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Or fuck buddies.
Right,
in
right.
terms of gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I will bring home a small kit and have an amazing night.
Right.
Just like out of my head, out of control. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And then it'll sit for another 6 months.
Right.
You know, but main things that are usually around,
Sure.
like the middle range Crybaby Wah
Okay.
with like I think it's called the 535Q.
I've heard of that.
It's got a rotary switch on it to change a bunch of voicings and an optional like volume boost in it as well.
Okay.
Which I've only ever used accidentally, much to the chagrin of my drummer. And then my other like forever girl would be the EHX Cathedral.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure it's not the best, cleanest, most scientific reverb in the world.
Yeah.
But the wrong ass shit you can do with it, I have never heard before. And I am so, like, not done exploring that at all.
Yeah.
Like, I plugged one night at home for a one night gear stand.
Sure.
I plugged in my Schecter Ultra 6 into a fuzz and then a volume pedal and the Cathedral.
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing a sound check, and I hit record, and 45 minutes later I had an EP done.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that's how much I give and take with that reverb pedal.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good investment right there.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and I don't know if I even paid dollars for that one.
Right.
You know?
You should tell him whole EP out of one pedal.
Yeah, I may have traded that from the local music store.
Right. Right.
Actually, and I did. I'm pretty sure it was just the Moog Subfatty and the Cathedral. I did an EP with a couple
Really?
months later. Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess like some of the social media and or A&R people at Moog really liked it.
Yeah.
Somebody told me it was going to go on their blog or something, and it never showed up. But like, just like the fact that I struck gold twice,
Yep.
essentially with a sound source and a pedal.
Yeah.
And then to have somebody else hear it and be like, "Oh, that is cool."
Right, right.
Like that was like big success.
That's awesome. I've never used it. I think, the only reverb pedal I have is the Eventide Space. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm a sucker for Eventide anything, and I always have been. Mm-hmm. So that when I got the Space, I was like, well, I'm done.
Sure. But, is that a type of thing that has like a delay and a reverb in some of the models?
Some of them, like it's not really a delay, but
right.
You can tempo sync the pre-delay.
Okay, yeah,
which is cool. But I mean, I have all of them
so the thing on the Cathedral, like the main, the thing that I work with on the Cathedral is like just like cranking the reverb length up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the models have like a pre-delay, and there's one echo model in it where you have more control over the echo and less over the reverb.
Right. And
just like doing that short delay, high feedback, like sort of metallic ring mod type of just where it becomes an oscillator.
You can do that with the Space on some of them. I know with if you're running like the black hole algorithm, which is basically what mine lives on.
That's the one I've seen on Instagram 7,000 times.
Well, dude, so I have one of the old rack mount units, like the DSP 4000. And that for years, I've had it for 7 years. For 6 years, it lived on black hole. And then I got the pedals.
Right.
But you couldn't do this on the rack, but on the pedal, you can do a really short decay, and it's got a feedback knob also, so you can do all the very reverbed delay kind of thing, and it's got a resonance frequency thing, so it's...
I know.
You can get creative. It's a cool one.
I had a feeling that because all the controls on the Cathedral are like very normal. There's no like fuck shit up button or anything.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling like if you're aiming high enough on your reverb pedal, like you can probably do a lot of the same stuff that I love that for. But that's my home now, so I'm not even looking at reverbs.
It's stereo out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the other magic of it.
Yeah.
And
stereo in or mono in?
Stereo in as well.
Yeah, okay.
But I've always done mono in to stereo out. And it's super fucking smart about panning things where you'll hit one note and it'll swell in the left, and you'll hit the second note and it'll swell in the right.
Really?
Yeah. It's like...
Oh, that's interesting.
The fucking AI on that pedal is... frightful. It's so
that's
clever.
Interesting. What is it? Seymour Duncan came out with some delay reverb pedal in the past year. I saw the Periphery guys got it, so I saw that they were. I think Misha was playing around with it at some point, but I don't know. I think they're pretty new at the whole thing. Not Periphery, Seymour Duncan.
Oh yeah. Well, I know they put out like some fuzz pedals and stuff.
Okay.
But, I mean, if I was Seymour Duncan, I would try making pedals, too.
Yeah. It seems hot.
Yeah, well, interesting point. And, like, there's an insane number of people and or companies making pedals right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's slowed down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I forget what account my wife and I both follow on Twitter, but... they have like a weekly update, and it'll be like, it's just a count of what they added to the website.
Right.
And it'd be like 17 new pedals, 4 new companies.
Oh my God.
Every week. Yeah.
Wow.
And like, that every week when there's 4 new companies, 2 companies also shuttered their doors that week.
Right.
But still, if that math is out of,
whoopsie. No, you're good.
If that math is out of sync, like, it still adds up to 1 trillion pedal companies today.
Right. I mean, I imagine, and I don't know, I mean, this isn't my world, but I imagine it's probably pretty cheap to start.
I started this business with $40 worth of parts.
Okay.
And a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I have to wonder, and because, I mean, like we were talking earlier, like there's so many, it's amazing how many pedal manufacturers are all based out of the Midwest. Mm-hmm. And my first thought, and maybe it's the cynic in me, is that it's because the winters are so fucking brutal there that you just stay in your garage building weird shit.
I'm sure it's got something to do with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a friend who was considering moving to Eau Claire.
Yeah.
From Baltimore.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, I'm really excited. Like, if I take this job, it'll be the same amount of money, but
Right.
it'll go 30% further in Eau Claire.
Right.
And I'll get better at guitar over the winter. It didn't end up panning out for him, but that was like absolutely in his consideration of the move. Like,
Did he get better at guitar though?
yeah,
Well, so-
like how you well, no, he didn't take or,
he didn't
or
do it.
get
Okay,
the job
yeah,
in
okay,
town.
Yeah.
But that was part of the decision making process was, what am I going to do with this goddamn winter?
Right. So I'm gonna be a hobbit for 6 months.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm sure there's probably a lot of like really good gamers in the Midwest as well.
There've gotta be.
I mean, like, I play altogether too much video games.
Do you?
Yeah. But,
What do you like to play?
right now I'm on Just Cause 3,
Okay.
which is like, it almost begins as like a free-for-all sandbox. And then, like, as you do your missions and stuff, you get better at that, and you can finish the story and everything.
Is it a first-person shooter? Or?
It's pretty much a third-person shooter.
Okay.
It's sort of a cross between like a what I like to call gunman game and like the Batman games.
Like a role-playing kind of...
Well, because your guy has like a grappling hook.
Okay.
So you can like zoom out of places, and you can like fire your grappling hooks out to like two separate things from you, and then push a button and they pull together. Okay. So like you can put one end on a bad guy and the other end on his car, and then zip him into his car and
you're watching it from like third person.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, and like you can like upgrade your plastic explosives so they have rocket engines on them.
Okay.
So you can take a car and like string it up in the air and put rocket engines on it and watch it spin in circles for 20 seconds before the whole fucking thing explodes. Like,
right. Okay.
it's just a pure like stress relief
Yeah, I get that.
adventure.
The only one I really played, I bought Doom when that came out. Well, you know what it was?
Because our old pal Mick Gordon worked on
Mick.
it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure you know Mick. Yeah. He definitely has your stuff. Yeah, it was because Mick sent me the score, and I was listening to it like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then it was actually because Thanksgiving was a week ago.
Yeah,
and so it was like Black Friday. I was coming back from Thanksgiving night, and I drove by a Best Buy, and there wasn't actually a line. And I walked in. I didn't have a video game system or anything like that, but I walked in, and it was like PS4 was on sale, and there was Doom.
Yeah, weren't they like $200 or something
like
for
that.
Black Friday?
Something like that.
Okay, yeah. Really, a lot less than usual.
It was like half the price of what... And I mean, I don't really play games. I'm pretty apathetic to it. But I saw it, and I'm like, well, okay. This is research. Because, research and heavy quotations. Because now I can buy mixed game, and then Sarah Schachner, like her version of it.
She's on Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her Infinite Warfare.
Okay.
That had just come out at the same time, too. So I was like, all right, I get to buy two friends' games.
Right off.
And I can, totally write off. And then it's research.
Right.
And so I ended up with those. And I think, to be honest, I played Call of Duty once. Because you go online and people like live and die by that game.
Yep.
Like, quite literally. So if you don't know what you're doing, you walk around and you're just dead.
Yeah, if you haven't, like, because those games started coming out like, what, 10, 15 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
So, like, if you haven't been living that life for 15 years, like, you just watch your guy die until you get sick of it.
And it sucks because, I mean, at least it's not, well, some of them are, but, you die, at least you can, respawn 3 seconds later. It's not like you have to wait for the next round.
Right.
You run, you shoot, or you get shot, and then you have to wait 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
That fucking
not
sucks.
for me. Nope.
But
So, to go back a little bit to Mick's score for that game.
yeah.
Like, so I heard bits and pieces, like, before the game came out, and, like, he made a bunch of nice videos, which featured some stuff I probably made with my own two hands.
Sick.
And, like, just with that fucking brutal, like, 9-string guitar or whatever that he had. Just, like,
Tuned to
unabashedly.
drop B.
Right. And then I started hearing articles about, like, new metal revival. Like, not in terms of, like, there are new metal bands, but, like, DJs in New York are, like, playing Slipknot and Korn, like, in the middle of their sets. Yeah, like, it's a thing. And then, like, all my 30-year-old friends online are just like, fuck it, I'm listening to System of a Down all day. Fuck it, I'm listening to Slipknot all day. Like, there's been a new metal revival, and I feel like maybe this is, like, assigning some cosmic importance, but I feel like Mick saying, fuck it, this is an evil, like, super low-turned fucking I hate you electro metal soundtrack for Doom just, like, blew the doors open. It's like, it's fine, just enjoy it, it's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, his score wasn't like Korn. I mean,
no, but I mean, you can see the.
I mean, I see it like because I mean, I see it as almost the enmeshing bands like Periphery or Veil of Maya or Meshuggah, lots of Meshuggah.
Oh, sure,
course,
yeah,
you know, obviously. And then, actually, when I met Mick for the first time, it's because he was here for the Video Game Awards just about a year ago, and. He was performing parts of the Doom score, and Matt Halpern, Periphery's drummer, he was playing drums for it.
Oh, okay.
So then it was like, oh, these pieces all make sense. You know,
sure.
This is very apropos. So
yeah,
to speak.
I don't mean to say that, like, that Doom soundtrack and, like, even elements of Wolfenstein and stuff like that. I'm not saying that those were straight up, like, new metal tracks, but it's got that same. Like, it's a little bit funky, a little bit industrial, and just nasty and aggressive. Like, and there, you know, there's no sad yelling lyrics and stuff like that. But, like, I really feel like that was like a drop of water and that made a really interesting ripple effect.
I would agree with that. And I think what you were saying earlier, how all your friends in their 30s. And they're all going, we're having System of a Down day. Yeah. Well, it makes sense because there's that thing that the music they say that forms your taste for the rest of your life. Is that what you listen to in your teenage years? Yeah. So if you're in your 30s, then yeah, what we were listening to was System of a Down, Korn. I mean, that was mainstream rock at the time. Yeah. And then we had Sugar Ray, which, you know, that was the opposite of like, this sucks. Yeah. So, you know, we were on the other tip of that. So, I mean, it's funny, man. Like, Linkin Park is a band that when it came out, I hated. Because I was past the new metal thing, and when Hybrid Theory came out, I just thought it was like new metal garbage. Yeah. Fast forward 10 years, and it's holy fuck, they knew how to write a song. Like, this is actually a really good band. And it was a weird moment for me, you know?
We definitely sold them some pedals directly, like like in their exploratory phase. Okay, and I was like, you know, they emailed, and already at that time, I mean, this is several years ago by now, and I was just like, their manager emailed us, and like we had just been burned by somebody else's manager, and I was just like, we don't deal with managers, just let me talk to Mike Shinoda or whoever. Yeah. Whoever is asking for the shit, let me talk to the person. Yeah. And we didn't. I'm like, and the manager just said, oh, they just want XYZ. And I was like, all right, fine. You know, I believe we gave them like a medium discount. Like now what is like our standard artist discount. Right. And then I didn't really think about it. And then like months later, I saw a clip of them from Saturday Night Live, and like 3 people were playing drums for that song. And like, I was like, oh shit. Like I did not pay enough attention to these people.
Yeah, they're interesting. Mm-hmm. They really are. I feel like it's almost like, heavy hangs the head who wears the crown.
Sure.
Kind of situation where for probably the rest of their career after their first two albums, they were trying to escape their first two albums.
And they're still, and I fucking deal with this every day. Like, people think of this character Ein as the funny guy in the video who makes noise pedals.
Yeah.
And just like people think of Linkin Park as those first two singles.
Right.
Or whatever. And like, honestly, like that, when I saw that clip from Saturday Night Live was kind of a moment of clarity. Like, you have to pay attention to people as people or artists as artists. And like, you can't just take your stock opinion from 1999 or whatever.
Well, it's so easy to forget that they actually are human beings.
Right, yeah.
I mean, just the same, like, okay, so you brought that up. What is Ein? Like, it's not Ben.
He's dead.
But what is what is that? Where did that come from?
So the fun part of that story is shortly after high school, I started working at Sabres.
Okay.
Like we talked about a little earlier. And they had these janky old cash registers, but their one like technological feat was it would print your first name on every receipt that you rang up.
Okay.
So you had to sign into your register.
Right.
They screwed mine up and it said AEN instead of BEN. And I pulled it, like I got my first receipt and I was like, fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't denote any genre. Like, it sounds foreign, which is fine. And yeah, let's just roll with it. So that was the name I put out. I don't know how many albums under, and that was my internet handle, and that was that's what I call myself on the internet, and like I still do to this day.
It's a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
And like Ein is the mascot of Dwarfcraft in a way. And because, I mean, the videos you make are like hysterical.
Thank you.
They're really funny. And I mean, it shows off the gear obviously appropriately,
right.
But it's like because you have that character behind it.
Right. Yeah. I don't always feel super good about that because it is, it is a character and it's a sales pitch and so on and so forth. But
it's fun.
Yeah. And sometimes it is really fun. And the other night we were at band practice, or we call it band practice, but we're still fucking mixing. And we were talking about like inappropriate sounds or something. Sure. Because that's what you do during mixing.
Naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remembered like a couple months earlier I had I found the sound effects library in Final Cut Pro. Uh-huh. Which I had never had any reason to use. I still don't have a reason to use it, but I found it and I was like, oh, we're doing this. And I just I essentially shot a short just to use a bunch of stupid sound effects. And I was like, oh my God, guys, you should check this out. It was so much fun. And another guy in my band just couldn't breathe or speak. He was laughing so hard. And I in that moment, that was the first time I really appreciated that process. Because this guy had nothing invested in the video, and he was losing his shit.
Well, and that's the beauty of Ein. Because Ein can be as outlandish and ridiculous as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. Because Ein is not Ben.
This is true.
So having that persona, I think that's liberating in a way.
Yeah, maybe it is. I had not thought of it like that. But
you can put, in a way, like bits of your personality that you don't have or things you wish you could do that you don't feel comfortable with. You can do that with Ein because that's not you. Right.
Well, all those the quick edits and hard cuts and things in the video, that's all a result of me cutting out the and mouth noises and things like that. and the bad takes and so on and so forth, and just like still being nervous in front of my own camera.
Oh,
even if I'm by myself,
I get nervous with that. Totally.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that, that became sort of a signature of it. And like, I feel like at this point, like I know how to ride that dragon, but it came, that's the result of what I saw as a flaw.
I'll say something, and this is definitely not PC, but because I got used to your videos with the stutter edits and things like that, the first time I saw the Chase Bliss videos, I didn't realize that he actually had a stutter.
Oh, you thought it was an effect?
I thought it was an effect like you guys did.
Oh, that's good. No, I think Joel would love that.
I hope so, because I mean, I have 2 of his pedals, and I think he's amazing, and like I did a lot.
He is amazing.
I researched his company after finding like the work he does and the outreach. I'm like, I almost emailed him just like crying, like I love you.
Right.
You know,
right.
like
yeah, you can't help it. Like, if
God, he seems just like a beautiful person.
You have to meet him when he comes out for NAMM.
I will. I'm gonna make a point of it. I don't have to do 2 things a day at NAMM this year. I only have to do 1. So
right, excellent.
I actually got to go and socialize.
Good. And like, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but like when you encounter somebody who is different from you in a specific way, like there's a part of you that just is just like screaming inside of you to be like, I'm cool with the way you are.
Totally.
Yeah. And so like the way that came out between me and Joel was like he was speaking a sentence, he was stuttering on a word.
Yeah.
I knew what the word was, and I finished his sentence.
Sure.
And then I said, I'm sorry, is it okay for me to finish your sentence when I think I know what it is? And he's like, I watched him like take a second to think, or maybe he was composing his response.
Sure.
And he said to me, I guess you can do it, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say anyway.
Yeah.
And like, if you typed that out, it would read super harsh, but like in person, it was like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, I feel like we're finally on the same fucking page with the elephant in the room.
Yeah, well, I mean, tone is everything.
Right, yeah.
And the way he said it is not going to have the same tone as if he typed it.
Right.
But, yeah, no, I'm definitely going to have to, meet him at NAMM for sure.
But it's so, moral of the story is I don't finish his sentences anymore.
Yeah, you learned. They do collabs, don't they? Or
I think they've had like guest artists for some special edition pedals.
I have Brothers, and that's a collab.
Is it?
Yeah. Because it's basically 2 overdrive distortion fuzz circuits.
Right.
One side is somebody else, and the other side is them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Like, I shot a little video at their place. With the brothers.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And of course, like, because we had known each other for years at that point, like, we didn't talk about the pedal at all.
Right. Why would you? It's just the thing. Yeah.
We just set up and, like, we hung out for hours and then set up and shot and then hung out.
Right. Yeah. I think I actually might have saw that.
I hope so. Like,
I'm pretty sure I did when I was doing like my brother's research.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think, did it have a scene like you all drinking whiskey or something like that?
Oh, no, I was not on that one. There was like an interview portion on it.
Okay.
But that, like, my performance on the video was like me sitting on the floor, just like hypnotizing out on the Starcaster and the pedals.
That sounds about right. Yeah. outside of the Metalocalypse guy who did the Necromancer art, do you guys ever do collabs?
Yeah. So in terms of art, for our ARF pedal, the attack release filter, super clever name, right?
It's also a Muppet, so that works out.
Well, that's Alf. Yeah.
That's what I think of when I see her.
So, I don't remember exactly how we connected on Twitter, but I made friends with this gal, Iphigenia, and she's a she's a graphic designer, artist, musician. She does music under the name Foie Gras.
Okay.
Or foie gras or whatever. Like, cause
does she spell it grass though? Because that would be amazing.
No, it's GRAS.
Okay.
Like
okay.
just.
She should rebrand herself to Foie Gras.
Foie Gras.
That'll be hysterical.
And just wear like a muumuu with cannabis leaves printed all over it.
Coconuts.
Right. Yeah. So, and she's a droner as well.
Yeah.
But she did this. I'm not sure, like, if it was intended to stay digital or if she made physical prints or whatever. But anyway, it was this like cheesecake girl's body with a German Shepherd's head.
Right.
And it says, "Not yours, never was." And then on the bottom, I believe it said, "Girls Against Catcalling."
Okay.
And like almost immediately that image was like stolen by other people, put on shirts, like just went all around. Like in terms of like self-released graphic design, like that was a fucking huge hit. Like if somebody steals your shit, like pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was coming to the end of the circuit design for the ARF, and which is when the final visual design happens, and I was doing I was starting everything on paper at that time. So I would draw, and so what I do is I write the name of the pedal, or I write some of the functions, and then I just write every word that comes to my head.
Okay.
And I don't remember any of the words that came in. So, and none of them hit.
I imagine just train of thought, kind of stream of consciousness. Yeah.
So I just started doodling and drawing, and like some of them would go further than others, and some, but they all turned into women with a dog's head. And like at a point, after like 4 of those, I just like send her a message on Twitter. I'm like, "Yo, I'm trying to do a design for this pedal. All I can do is fucking copy you.
Yeah.
Can we use it?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, just send me one."
Really? That was it? That's awesome.
Yeah, and she's actually playing in town tomorrow, so I'm gonna meet her for the first time in real life tomorrow.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think she's back in San Francisco now, but she's been living in either San Francisco or Seattle.
Okay.
Like forever.
Yeah.
And
where's she playing?
At a venue called Junior High.
Where's that?
I don't know, but it's real. I found the address.
Okay.
So it's not,
real.
It might be an illegal place, but it's got an address on the internet, so it's probably not a super sketch basement.
Well, it's a real place.
Right, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's
and then
cool,
we also did like a half and half pedal collab with Fuzzrocious. This might be a couple years ago by now. But it was our Wizard of Pitch and their Afterlife Reverb.
Okay.
A little bit modified. Each of them were a little bit modified and like literally crammed into one box.
Well, that actually brings something in mind to me, because what introduced me to you was actually at Perfect Circuit, of all places. Mm-hmm. Death Kitties. What's the actual name of it?
It's my favorite store, Perfect Circuit, by the way.
I've called it Death Kitties for
the big distortion
BDSM.
sound machine.
That thing. And because I was just perusing, as you do, and I saw this pedal, and I was like, it's sparkly blue with pink cats, and me and cats, and I like sparkles and shit like that. And I was like, what is this? Like, so it's like, can I? They take it out of the case for me. I take it into like the synth room, and I plugged it through the mini Moog that they have there.
Right. Yeah.
So I get the thing, and I start researching the whole thing, because at the time I knew it only as a Devi Ever pedal, because that's what it was.
Well, we were Devi Ever at that moment,
and that's kind of where this goes.
Okay, sorry.
And I know that's...
So I'll try not to finish your sentences either.
That's okay. I will say what I want to say no matter what. No. But it's funny, actually, that pedal, The last EP, the Punish Me EP, so all the fucked up distortion at the end of Clever Girl, that's pitched down strings, run super hard through that shit.
Nice.
A lot of the drums in Notes on Letting Go, that is drums fed through the right side
Okay.
of BDSM.
I forget which comes out where.
So
it's been so long.
The square wave is on the right side.
Okay.
And the fuzzy distortion's on the left side.
Okay.
And I know definitely with like Clever, where it gets really mangled at the end, that was just everything cranked.
All right.
Because, it goes to 11, so you do it. But yeah, that was the pedal that actually, so I started researching like, what the fuck is this thing? And that led me to, Dwarfcraft manufactured this, and that turned into getting the Eau Claire, and then later the other.
Oh, awesome.
But that's how it all started. So, the Devi Ever thing.
We can talk about a lot of that, but there's also a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay, legally,
Yeah.
I figured.
You should leave that in the final cut, by the way.
I'm not going to edit this.
Okay. All right. Just before we go on any further, I want to tell you that, like, the genius of Devi Ever was the insane amount of variety and intensity that she got out of 4 circuit boards.
Yeah, she makes like 50 fuzz pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I put some of the best work into my life, the best work of my life, into Devi Ever while we owned it.
Yeah.
And case in point, the Big Distortion Sound Machine.
Yeah.
All I can take credit for on that is the concept of running those in parallel and figuring out how to do it electronically, which was really fucking easy.
Sure.
Like,
And you put cats on it.
Right. Well, that's where the best work of my life comes in.
I mean, to be fair, I never would have bought that pedal, and I never even would have known you. I might have eventually, but like, it's the cats.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I count that pedal as a goddamn home fucking run, regardless of what I invented or didn't on it. Like, that is the Big Distortion Sound Machine is a high point in my career.
That's awesome.
If not life.
Yeah. Sure. That's awesome, man. I fucking love that thing.
Right? It's just like I couldn't believe how well it worked. Like, because so often I have ideas and I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if this would do, thing X that I really like. And most of the time it's just like, that doesn't work at all. You're not smart enough to do this.
Right. And
And then when it does work, like that came together so fast and so well. And like, yep.
Oh my God. That fucking thing, man. That was like, that was the tipping point.
Davey, if you're listening, fucking give it a different name, but make that.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many of them out there, and it's really nice. Like,
how many did you make?
I would. Well, I'm sure we made 100.
Oh,
okay, I'm not sure.
You.
I'm sure we made 50. It may be as many as like even 300.
It's less than 5, though.
I really think so. Yeah,
I should look at the serial number of mine.
it may not have one.
It may not, but that makes it special.
Yeah,
I can't ever sell it. I mean, I never would, because that pedal was responsible for a very important song to me.
right.
But
I think the one I have is mono. It's all mixed down to one jack. And then
I only use that out of one jack anyway. I always use the sum jack. I think that's out too. Yeah.
Okay. I tried to. We had like 2 broken ones around the shop.
Yeah.
And we were gonna. I tried to fix them up for Black Friday, and one worked and one didn't.
Yeah.
And like the idea was to sell one, and then I would have a fully functional one. for my, with both output jacks, but
Right.
only one worked, so we sold that one. And there's a carcass of a big distortion sound machine just like taunting me on top of the testing station, like,
Yep.
if you want to take half a day to fix me, I'll change your life.
Right, of course. I think the thing with the way I look, I mean, we worked in different ways, but I don't want stereo to be drastically different from each other
Okay,
because that freaks me out.
let's talk about how we work. Do you on how you work, and then
I do. It's really fucking systematic. And
Okay.
a lot of it, it depends what instrument I start on. Mm-hmm. But okay, if it's a guitar, I have my PRS, and that is usually, so when I'm writing something, I'm going through pedals, and then sometimes through the Mesa, sometimes through the Axe Effects, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then when I actually track it, I track it DI.
okay,
And then I track all the DIs. I edit it all actually there in Pro Tools on the actual, just the direct
like
signal.
before amp sim or anything,
Right, before anything.
Just the notes.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll monitor it through an amp just so
Okay.
I hear what it sounds like. But I'm
Okay.
editing the actual notes as the DI, and then I'll reamp it through everything.
Okay.
Because that way the timing is perfect.
Sure.
But it sounds a lot better when you edit the DI as opposed to editing the reamped signal.
Shit. Wow.
So that's how I think about it. So like I'll record the DI, monitor through everything else.
You sound like you went to music school.
Yeah, no shit. They didn't teach me this there, though.
Okay, all right,
No,
all right.
they taught me how to use FM8. This is just this is the way my process evolved over 11 years of being out of school,
Okay.
something like that. But no, that's just so that way. A lot of it I have to credit BT for because he got me really into like the super hard time correcting. Everything has to be perfect kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. And then he was all in Logic basically. And once I could basically afford Pro Tools HD, I just jumped to that shit because just for the way I work,
Pro Tools is your shit.
it works for me. It's the one.
I love how Pro Tools loyalists like have a defense prepared when it comes up.
No, it's not a defense. It's the simple thing that I get physically agitated and like filled with anxiety and rage if I'm working in anything else.
All right.
Anything. I'm just yelling at the computer.
Right.
And
well, it's what you learned on.
no, it's not.
Not?
No.
Shit.
It was the first thing that my background was, I was in bands and like it was all basically recording real instruments and then editing it after. And so when I was in high school, I had like Acid Pro and I had Fruity Loops 1.
Sure.
And I would make stupid beats in Fruity Loops and then I'd throw that into Acid and I'd record guitars on top of that. And that was, basically the catalyst for everything later.
Right.
But once I got Pro Tools, which I had Pro Tools 6 or something like that, and it was 6 LE, so you could have a total of 16 channels.
Okay.
And no delay compensation. Like you could record into it, but that was about it.
Right. It was a very functional demo.
It was, it was a very functional demo. And I was in college. I couldn't afford HD.
Right.
Forget about it. So what I would do, ultimately, I ended up, because at Berkeley, when I was there, we would often track in Pro Tools, and we sometimes had to mix in Pro Tools, but they also pushed Logic on us pretty hard at the time, and that was Logic 7. Mm-hmm. So I was in Logic basically until I could afford real Pro Tools. And then I worked on an album, and I took the check from working on that, and I bought Pro Tools, and I never looked back, basically. But yeah, so the way I work, I make a lot of things out of the box, whether it's recording a guitar and doing the DI thing like we said, or if I'm recording a piano or the Rhodes or a modular synth, any of the above. I'm all just making the ideas outside of the box for the most part. I don't get inspired inside the box at all. Like you load up a soft synth, I'm like, this is stupid. I just don't feel it. And some people do. There's a lot of amazing music written like that.
Yeah.
Just not for me. I just need to. I need to feel the rust on the string. I need to be able to bend it. So then I just track shit in, and I'll edit it, do whatever I have to do, and then I kind of write around with the beats I make or any other instruments I want to do. It's all written around essentially a performance,
Right.
and then it just gets hyper edited on the grid because I do like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's my process. You know, it's all just on the grid. It's traditional in the sense of record real things in, use nice mics, use a nice chain if you can, get the best performance you can, and then edit around that.
Huh.
And that's how I think for all of it, basically.
That's I've never heard it like I've never heard that process before.
It's not that common.
Like the people that I work with are it's kind of the two the one side, like my rock friends or whatever, are just like, well, I don't see what the problem is. Just set up the band and record it,
right,
and then it's done. Or like Fang, Slow Sly Love. Like he has whole sets and like albums and things that have never been recorded,
right?
Because it's all based on this hardware setup, and eventually someday he'll throw it into a computer somewhere.
Right.
Or he used to work in Ableton or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's like internet friends who are like all in the box, and like sometimes they'll overdub a guitar or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's almost like you're dropping the DNA in, or the seed or whatever.
Yeah, and just building around it.
Yeah. And it like a seed that I never imagined like depositing, I guess.
We fuck differently.
Right, yeah. I mean, clearly it does the trick.
No, I don't know. It's just that's what works for me.
Yeah.
That's how I find, because I don't feel like I'm particularly good enough at any instrument to be able to record it and be happy with it.
Right. Well, in a lot of ways, I'm with you on that. Like, I find myself very fractured musically because I want to do everything.
Yeah.
Like every style, every extreme end of, well, everything except country.
Right. Yeah.
And
me too.
I guess rap rock. I've abandoned that.
I can't rap. So
right.
there we go.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, I fucking love making hip hop beats.
Yeah,
of
it's
many
fun, man.
styles. Yeah,
it's super fun.
If I was not in Eau Claire, I think I would be a hip hop producer.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, because that's where I feel most comfortable. It's just like a 1, 2, or 4 bar pattern that feels so fucking good.
Right.
And like a bridge or a chorus or something like that, like that's in that way, that's where the hammer comes back.
Right.
It's like the music is bam. It's simple.
Yeah.
It can be as complex as it wants to, but it's
to the point.
Yeah, it's only this long.
Right.
Man, I think I forgot. Oh, Fractured. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then I also do Propellerhead Reason has been my constant companion.
Sure.
Like since I could afford it, which was on like version 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that's so much music that I work on starts there, and a lot of it ends there as well.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Huh. I
mean, it's like once they brought in the audio recording,
I never knew Reason in that capacity.
Yeah. It was, I don't know what version number it was, but there was a weird time where they had a separate program. I think it was kind of like a pilot,
right,
in TV terms.
Yeah, sure.
Called Record. And if you owned Reason, you got a discount on Record, and Record would load all your Reason devices.
Like a rewire kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, like, when that worked, then the next version of Reason was just all those features were integrated.
Right.
So I know how to tweak, everything up until, like, Reason 8. I know how to tweak everything in that program. I know how to record. Like, it's one of those situations where I'm angry at my hand and my mouse for being so slow because I know the next 6 moves I need to do.
Right.
Before they can physically happen. Like that's me in reason.
That's my brain when I talk. It's terrible. That's why I stutter over word, or I mesh words together for that reason.
I'm running my sentences together because you're too far behind me.
It's just like my mouth, can't keep up.
Stumbling over.
Totally. I do it all the time. I'll come up I'm trying to say sit down, I say sound.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck did you say? Sit down.
Jeez. You didn't. Well, that's what I was trying to do.
In my head, it makes sense, but in my head, everything makes sense, and that's not reality.
Right.
That's the unfortunate truth of life.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of, in a more psychic, spiritual sense or whatever, kind of where I came to musically recently. Just fucking be okay with the confusion.
Yeah. Accept it.
The best stuff I've done over the last few years, aside from my rock band, which it only works if we write everything together in the room.
That makes sense.
That's just the nature of that group.
No, that's healthier that way.
Yeah. Right, yeah. And
that Ronald Reagan, that one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But when I need to work directly from the soul or the heart or whatever,
sure.
it's a small rig on the dining room table.
Yeah.
And it's it's like a sound source that I understand pretty well.
Right.
And pedals that I can't really control well.
Right.
And the whole thing is just making music out of the chaos that's there. And it's the
finding beauty in the dissonance.
Right, yeah. And the thing that finally made that gel in a way that I've fully latched onto was the Montreal Assembly 856.
I don't know that.
So they're really hard to get. And somehow my wife got me one for Christmas, I think last year, maybe the year before. They come out in really limited batches. And they're expensive. So it's on level 1, it's a looper.
Okay.
But it makes 3 parallel copies of said loop.
Yeah.
And you can change the speed and the pitch and the direction and the amplitude envelope and so many parameters of these loops.
Yeah.
That it be that little box, the 856, becomes a different way to make music.
Sure.
That's the, if not the end of the chain, very close to the end of the chain on that Hardware Harry track that I sent you.
Yeah.
And
that was the 45-minute one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the 45-minute edit.
Oh.
of 90. And it ends up because I don't fully understand how to operate it.
Right. There's a magic behind it.
Yeah, I'm wrangling that chaos and whatever's before it and whatever is after it. It all kind of networks into that little guy.
Right.
It becomes a collaborator, and it between its capabilities and my ineptitude to control it, it ends up creating rhythms that I don't know are going to be there and things like that. And it turns into this magic thing where so many rules just get thrown out the window, and it's just a pure experience / exercise. And if somebody's going to listen to it, it's not like any other tracks that I would put out, which is when I write a song and record it, it's check it out, you guys. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I feel.
Right.
Here are my middle fingers.
Yeah.
In one form or another. When I do that stuff with the 856, it's if you want to come here with me, please do.
Right.
I'm really enjoying this experience. It's a weird, like, open arms kind of music as opposed to a presentation, I guess. Whoa, that was a lot of words, wasn't it?
No. I mean, I understand. I mean, actually, that's the thing I love about modular.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's that same thing. It's the ghost in the machine.
Yeah.
And you think you kind of know what you're doing, but it spits out numbers that you did not expect.
Right, yeah. And it's... The modular is just, like, so beautifully complex.
Yeah.
That, like... If you don't want to become a computer, like, you have to surrender to
You have to surrender to the computer. It's really funny how that works out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's beautiful. And I actually, there's definitely a couple recordings, like, in the hopper to come out that are just modular.
Yeah.
And that, like, set up like a self-sustaining system.
Right.
And, like, let that run, like, probably for 20 seconds or something.
Yeah.
And then start patching and turning knobs and things.
Outside of Pittsburgh, who do you like modular-wise?
The 4MS PEG has
right.
been the center of my system since the day I got it.
Okay.
Like, the way those envelopes work just worked with me instantly.
Okay.
Like, there was no learning curve. Like, it was just like, bam, this is an instrument. It was like picking up a guitar.
Yeah.
That, guitar I had to practice for all those years.
Right.
The PEG was like, bam, here I am. I'm a tool in your belt.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other do or die is the Make Noise Telharmonic.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was at KnobCon, I think it was really shortly after the Telharmonic came out. Mm-hmm. And I had kind of gotten, I don't want to say bored, but like, I had gotten, I guess, up to speed with my modular rig.
Yeah.
Which was mostly the Pittsburgh rig that I put together and the PEG at that point.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think what I need is a weird oscillator. Because all my oscillators are very traditional, right. The good old-fashioned, quote-unquote, East Coast waveforms, and then you can do FM also.
Right, yeah.
And so I asked one of the dudes from Earthquaker, I was like, I think I need, like, a weird oscillator for, like, I like drones and stuff, like, sort of complex sounds, I guess.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, you should check out that Telharmonic. And Make Noise was right next to me at the show.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and I plugged the headphones into their rig for 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And fiddled with the Telharmonic, and I was like, shit, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, and then I was like trying to find our dealers at the show to be like, I need to trade you for a Telharmonic today.
Yeah.
Like right now. So yeah, those are the two, the PEG, the Telharmonic, and I use basically like Pittsburgh for everything else.
Right, all the utilitarian.
Yeah. And like I have a couple that they've discontinued. Yeah. Which crash sometimes.
Right.
But
it's part of the magic.
Yeah. But it does just really wild shit. Anyway, it's the Bender, I think it's called.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's like sort of a... I think they have an LFO and an audio rate oscillator version of it. Yeah. But yeah, that for a long time that was my secret weapon.
Really?
I would just like kind of leave that turned down on the mixer and then
then just crack
it open. Yeah.
The last thing I want to ask you, because what I love about you guys in general, and this relates back to my parents.
Okay.
So this is personal for me. And it's also helping me navigate my life. Because my parents worked together their entire lives.
Oh, really? What did they do?
Photography.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, my parents are artists. So I grew up in an artistic family where my parents were partnered. But and
working together. And so did they kind of never leave work? Is that...
No, it wasn't that I mean, like when they were home with us, like you were saying earlier, we had dinner together every night.
Oh, great.
Like every night, no matter what, unless my dad was traveling, shooting or something like that.
Right.
Every night, we had a family dinner together. And in my family, my mom kind of ran the business side a bit more, where my dad was more a little bit more like wacky creative. And together, they complement each other. And I'm guessing it's kind of similar
Absolutely.
for you guys.
That sounds like me and your dad were both the hammer.
Yeah. He's building a china shop for sure. Mm-hmm. And my mom is the one who cracks the whip and, keeps it all together.
Absolutely.
But how do you balance the work with family, with life, when you're together all the time?
So, I mean, you already heard some of this, but for the benefit of the listener,
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little bit of backstory.
Sure.
My wife and I got together when we were 18 years old at my graduation party.
Yeah.
We had our first child at 20 because, thanks to some probably pretty shitty medical advice, we thought she might never be able to have children.
Oh my God.
And that was important to us. Turns out we're both really fertile.
Right.
And so on the one side, like I told you earlier, we were very entangled very early on.
Yeah.
There is no plausible exit strategy.
Right.
Like even, I mean, okay, maybe that's selling Louise a little bit short, because I'm sure she could figure something out. But it'd be unbelievably unpleasant for everybody.
They're smarter than us.
Right, yeah.
They can always figure something out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's no plan B. There's no backup plan. I mean, just made the decision. Like, we're going to have these kids. And then when I couldn't handle the business on my own, she said, I'll help you. And then when we couldn't do the business without her, it was, I'll just do this business.
Right.
And when the business was not bringing in enough money, she got another job, because she can't invent new pedals.
Right.
But she can work at a software company and try to do our emails and invoicing and things and
sure.
like that. So the business aspect of that is, it's a real like Band of Brothers type situation.
Sure.
Where like there's no option.
Right.
Like this fails, we fail.
Yeah.
But like with the family, I think, like you mentioned earlier, the having dinner together every night, unless it's unavoidable, I mean, I'm sure that's the glue that holds the family together.
I'm sure of it. Yeah.
Because that's when we bullshit. That's when we joke. That's when we talk about the real shit.
Right.
That's when. That's the house meeting. That's the State of the Union address. That's everything.
Yeah. It's the glue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of shit on the outskirts of that.
Sure.
But that's the linchpin,
Right.
And like, it also helps that I'm still a fucking child. So when my 9-year-old, I say, what do you want to do today? We can do almost anything.
Right.
And she says, I want to go see Justice League. I say, you know what? I actually do want to see
Me
that
too.
piece of shit movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I may have lost track of the original question, because you gave me this giant beer.
Did you drink it all?
No, no, goodness, no.
Wow. Yeah. That's a Stone Woot Stout. It's like 12% alcohol.
Yep, and there's like aliens on it.
Yeah.
Will Wheaton, it says. Greg Koch.
It's a collaboration beer.
Is this Will Wheaton from Star Trek?
I don't know.
And Greg Koch from Wilco?
Greg Coach, what I don't know how you pronounce. He's the
that's Glenn Coach from Wilco, not Greg.
Yeah, no. Greg Koch.
Sorry,
I don't
Greg.
want to say Koch because that's like the Koch brothers. I think it's Greg Koch. No, he is the CEO of Stone.
Okay.
Or the founder of Stone.
All right, but maybe Will Wheaton from Star Trek.
Could be.
All right, I would love it if like one of his side hustles was beer recipes.
It's very possible. I don't know. No, they do these collab beers periodically. And in the case of this, it's 3 of them together, and it has this beautiful alien tentacle going through 3 human heads.
Yeah, it's
charming.
Typical beer stuff.
Yeah, I love beer. That's why.
I thought of some more family stuff. If you've got the space on your hard drive,
go on.
Okay. The other thing that I think really helped us in raising the kids, keeping the family going and the business so on and so forth, is that since we had kids when we were 20, like when our kids were still kids, we still remembered being kids.
Right.
And like being the parent, it still gets hard to remember what it's like to be a kid.
Right.
But I still really do.
Well, you're closer to most kids.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So you have that in you.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff that I want to do that it's still left over from childhood.
Yeah, totally.
And I mean, like, we both had tumultuous childhoods, divorces, so on and so forth. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff we are doing that is like in opposition to our parents, or
I'm sure
in response
that
to.
seems a natural response to that. Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to sound super cliched, but like just with the business and the family, it comes down to like having a good team that you can trust.
Yeah, sure. Cats
fucking shit up.
Do you guys have a rule? Like, do you have a rule as if you don't take work home with you?
Oh, unavoidable.
I mean, you just take work home with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, unfortunately, probably 30% of the dinner table conversation is work.
Well, I mean, that seems almost unavoidable too.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And like, I know for a fact that weighs on the kids. Like, they hear us talking about money, and like, we still don't know if we can bring them out here in January.
Right.
Because like, they know where Disneyland is. They know where Harry Potter is.
You're so fucked.
Right. And it's like, and last year, or even before we came out last year, it was like, man, we really want to take you out.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we have the money,
it's 3 plane tickets.
Yeah, we want that.
Yeah.
And still, like, it's December 1st today.
Yeah.
We don't know. We do not know.
Right.
We could have way tons of money. We could have not nearly enough money to bring them out here for Disneyland.
Right.
And I don't remember who said it, but it really resonated with me, and I repeat it to the kids every now and again when they're like, why don't you, how can you not know, or why don't we, why can't I get shoes today, why do I have to get shoes next week?
Yeah.
Or when they see us having a hard time and they're like, why don't you get like a regular job like the other parents? And I tell them, and I hope they believe me, because I have to believe it to keep going. And I tell them, because it's it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven.
That's awesome.
That is a stolen quote. Do not put my name on it. But
you're just like badass rock and roll dad. I love it.
Why is Dad still in bed? It's 2 p.m. Because it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. That's going to be the new answer for everything. Like, it's not because your dad had 3 beers before the show and screamed until he passed out on stage, because it's better to rule in hell.
So that was me and Ben from Dwarfcraft. If you are of the guitar persuasion, or you just want to add some exciting things into your sound design repertoire, I love the pedal they make called the Eau Claire Thunder, as well as I use the Necromancer a lot. Mainly, I got it because the artwork was done by one of the artists of Metalocalypse, and I'm a big Metalocalypse fan, so it's just cool. And then Death Kitties is that's a huge one, actually, for me. The entire kind of cacophonous ending of Clever Girl, that was entirely, I guess, Death Kitties, or Big Distortion Sound Machine, as it's actually titled, but Death Kitties is really appropriate. Death Kitties is responsible for that. So yeah, check out Dwarfcraft. They make awesome shit, and they are awesome people, and we should always support awesome people. Simple as that. Take care.